Hello students, I am Professor Awais Ahmed Hussaini, working as Assistant Professor in Mechanical Engineering Department at Sharad Institute of Technology, College of Engineering, Yadrao. So students, in last video we discussed introductory part as well as construction as well as working of impulse turbine. Now in this video we will discuss construction, working of reaction turbine, that is Parsons reaction turbine, which is mostly used in case of the steam power plant. Also we will discuss different governing mechanism used for impulse as well as reaction turbine. So as we know that in case of the impulse turbine, the inlet energy available is only kinetic energy, and it can be done only because of the steam nozzle. So the main function of the steam nozzle is to convert that pressure energy of the steam which is coming from the boiler to kinetic energy at the end we will get, and the same kinetic energy is converted into mechanical energy in terms of the shaft rotation. So this is all about impulse turbine. So inlet energy available in case of the impulse turbine is only, that is, kinetic energy, but the inlet energy available in case of the reaction turbine is both, that is kinetic energy as well as pressure energy. So it can be done with the help of nozzle as well as fixed blade. With the help of nozzle we will get that kinetic energy, as well as with the help of that fixed blade we will get that pressure energy. So students, so the most important component of the reaction turbine is a fixed blade as well as moving blade along with steam nozzle. So here a turbine in which the steam pressure decreases gradually while expanding through the moving blade as well as fixed blade, that is reaction turbine. So this is the main working principle of the reaction turbine. It consists of the large number of the stages, each stage consisting a set of the fixed as well as that moving blade. The fixed blade is nothing but it acts as a nozzle. In case of the reaction turbine, it performs the same function of the nozzle. The heat drop takes place throughout in the both fixed as well as moving blade. So this is the main difference between impulse and reaction. In reaction, the inlet energy available is both, that is kinetic as well as pressure energy. So as well as number of nozzles are provided in the reaction turbine. The fixed blade act as a both nozzle in which velocity of the steam increases and direct the steam enters the ring of the moving blade, as pressure drop takes place both in fixed as well as in moving blade in case of the reaction turbine. So the steam expands while flowing over the moving blade and thus gives reaction to the moving blade, hence the turbine is called as a reaction turbine. So this is the main working principle. I repeat once again, the steam expands while flowing over the moving blade and thus give reaction to the moving blade, hence the turbine is called as a reaction turbine. So this is the working principle of the reaction turbine. The fixed blade are attached to the casing. They are in static condition where moving blades are fixed with the rotor, and that rotor is attached on the shaft and output is mechanical energy. The another name of that reaction turbine is Parsons reaction turbine. The degree of reaction in this case is 50%. So this is all about construction as well as working of impulse turbine. Here you will get the idea about their parts as well as working. So the first important thing is that nozzle. So the main function of the nozzle is to convert that pressure energy into kinetic energy. So before that, whatever the steam is coming from the boiler is enters in the nozzle. In nozzle, its velocity goes on increases. Here you will get idea about in the velocity graph. The velocity is increases continuously in nozzle by reducing the pressure. So you can say it as the velocity is increases, that is kinetic energy is increases by reducing the pressure, and the high velocity of the steam is enters on the surface of the rotor blade. So here these are the some kind of the moving blade. Another name is that rotor blade, where that velocity energy get absorbed by this blade and it get start rotating, and the next it enters on the surface of the stator blade. It is fixed to the casing it is called as that particular fixed blade. It performs the same function as that of the nozzle. Here you will get idea about further that velocity goes on increases when that steam is come in contact with that stator blade. So here by reducing the pressure. So these are the three important components of the reaction turbine. The first is nozzle, second one is moving blade, and third one is fixed blade. It acts as a nozzle also. So here whatever the steam from the boiler when enters on the steam turbine, before that nozzle, in nozzle the velocity is increases, that is kinetic energy is increases by reducing the pressure energy. When after that nozzle the high velocity steam, high kinetic energy of the steam is enters on the surface of the blade. The blade shape is generally aerofoil in both the cases, in case of the moving as well as fixed blade. When that high velocity steam is coming in contact with that moving blade, that is rotor blade, the part of the energy get absorbed by that moving blade and it gets start rotating. This moving blade, that is rotor blade, is attached on the shaft of the turbine rotor, that is, and that stator blade is attached to the casing. It is fixed, there is no any movement. So here you will get idea about velocity goes and reduces as well as pressure is also decreases. Further, that same steam is enters on the surface of the stator blade, that is fixed blade, where again its kinetic energy, that is velocity, is increases by reducing the pressure. So this is the construction as well as working of the reaction turbine. So when we talk about that particular velocity triangle for reaction turbine, the degree of reaction is near about that 50%. So here there are some important parameters are inlet angle of that nozzle and outlet angle of that blade, both are same. That means the value of alpha as well as value of the phi is same, means alpha is equal to phi in case of the particular that reaction turbine, as well as that angle theta and angle beta both are same. Similarly, that flow velocity at inlet as well as flow velocity at outlet both are same, that is Vf is equal to Vf1. Similar way, blade velocity remains constant, that is Vb and Vb here. Also the most important thing is the value of that absolute velocity, that is V, is exactly equivalent with the value of Vr1. So you can say it as V is equal to Vr1 here, and similarly you can say that the value of that Vr is equivalent with the value of the V1. So these are important modification in case of the reaction turbine. So whatever the steam is enters through the angle alpha, here there is one location of the nozzle, and the steam enters on the moving blade through the nozzle, or it can be, you can take example of the fixed blade also instead of that nozzle, through the angle alpha. Alpha is a nozzle inlet angle, you can say it as a fixed blade inlet angle. Simultaneously that beta is act as a nozzle outlet angle, or you can say it as a fixed blade outlet angle. Theta is act as a moving blade inlet angle, phi is act as moving blade outlet angle. That particular V stand for absolute velocity at inlet, V1 stand for absolute velocity at outlet. Vb is a blade velocity which is remains constant continuously. The blade rotate at the same speed, you can calculate it by pi dn by 60. The next important is that relative velocity at outlet. This is relative velocity at outlet as well as inlet. That Vr indicate relative velocity at inlet, Vr1 indicate relative velocity at outlet. Vw stand for whirling velocity, that is changing velocity after converting into absolute to relative. You can get idea about that Vw is a whirling velocity at inlet, Vw1 is a whirling velocity at outlet. So this is a velocity triangle. Here you will get idea about the angle alpha is exactly equal with that angle phi, as well as that angle theta is equivalent with that angle beta. So here you will get idea that value of the Vf1 is exactly equal to the value of Vf2. Similar way, Vw1 and Vw2 both are same here. Also value of V1 is exactly equal to the value of Vr2, and value of V2 is exactly equal to the value of Vr1. These are the some important changes. The 90% of the velocity triangle is same as that of the impulse turbine, only the degree of reaction is 50%, so some modification is there, as well as that work done as well as their performance is also mostly same. In case of the reaction turbine, only some changes are there. The work done per kg of the steam in the stage, per stage or per pair, is calculated by using formula. We already discussed that formula, U bracket Vw1 plus Vw2. U is stand for that blade velocity or that absolute velocity. Vw1 and Vw2 are the whirling velocity. You can calculate that value of the U by using formula pi dn by 60. Similar way, the work done per kg of the steam, here you must have to consider the mass. So the value is m into U Vw1 plus Vw2. M stand for mass of the steam flowing through the blade, and here you will get the power if you want it in kilowatt. So m into U Vw1 plus Vw2 upon 1000. 1000 is because of to convert that watt into kilowatt. Here Newton meter per second is nothing but watt. Here I just converted into kilowatt, and this is the efficiency of the reaction turbine, that is work done upon enthalpy drop, and that enthalpy drop is calculated by formula H is equal to H1 minus H2. You can get these values from the steam table, and we need the pressures because to find that heat drop. This is the efficiency of the reaction turbine. Simultaneously, the most important part of the reaction turbine is the degree of reaction in reaction turbine. So we already discussed that degree of reaction for the Parsons reaction, or that is the reaction turbine, is 50%. So we must have to put this all values here. So the degree of reaction is defined as the ratio of isentropic heat drop in the moving blade to the isentropic heat drop in the entire stage. So here we must have to consider the heat drop in both cases, that is isentropic heat drop in the moving blade. Means initially when the steam is coming from the nozzle to moving blade, some kind of the heat drop takes place, and afterwards the total heat drops is nothing but that from nozzle to fixed blade. The arrangement is nozzle, then moving blade, then fixed blade. Such kind of the arrangement is there. Firstly nozzle, second one is that moving blade, and third one is fixed blade. So if we want to calculate the heat drop in case of the moving blade, then H1 minus H2 is there, and the heat drop in stage means from point 1 to point 3, that is from nozzle to fixed blade. So that is H1 minus H3. So here you will get idea about that definition, or it is a ratio of the isentropic heat drop in the moving blade to the isentropic heat drop in the entire stage of the reaction turbine. So it is denoted by the R, degree of reaction is denoted by R. So R is equal to enthalpy drop in the moving blade upon enthalpy drop in the stage. So for stage we have to consider the heat drop in both cases, from nozzle to fixed moving blade as well as from that fixed moving blade to fixed blade. Again I repeat, if you want to calculate that enthalpy drop in the stage, first you have to consider the enthalpy drop in the first stage as well as enthalpy drop in the second stage. You will get this at the end. So enthalpy drop in the moving blade is designated by DH2, and enthalpy drop in the stage is denoted by DH1 plus DH2. It includes both stages. Similar way, DH1, that is enthalpy drop in the fixed blade, is calculated by the formula V1 square minus V2 square upon 2. It can be also noted that H1 minus H2. Similar way, DH2 is calculated by VR2 square minus VR1 square upon 2. Here V1 and V2 stand for absolute velocity at inlet and absolute velocity at outlet. VR1 and VR2 represent the relative velocity at inlet as well as relative velocity at outlet. So here you will get idea, it is equivalent with H2 minus H3. So that dH1 plus dH2 is stand for H1 minus H3. Simply you will get idea about that total heat drop in the stage. So the work done in the steam in the stage is, we already discussed in previous slide, U in bracket VW1 plus VW2. And so this is by putting all values of the enthalpy drop in the moving blade as well as enthalpy drop in the stage, you will get these particular values, VR2 square minus VR1 square upon 2U VW1 plus VW2. So note that we already discussed that particular part in the last slide. In Parsons turbine, the degree of the reaction is 0.5, that is 50%. Here the angle alpha, which is exactly equivalent with the angle beta 2, as well as alpha 2 is exactly equivalent with the beta 1. This means that the moving blade and fixed blade have the same shape. So the degree of reaction is 50%. This is a very simple thing. Now this is a work done as well as efficiency of the reaction turbine. We will take that particular part before solving the example, so I skip this particular part here from here. So this is the main difference between impulse as well as reaction turbine. So as we know that in case of the impulse turbine, the steam completely expands in the nozzle and its pressure remains constant during its flow through the blade passage. But in case of that reaction turbine, the steam expands partially in the nozzle as well as partially in the moving blade. So inlet energy available in case of the impulse turbine is only kinetic energy, and inlet energy is available in case of the reaction turbine is both, that is kinetic energy as well as pressure energy. Second one, the relative velocity of the steam passing over the blade remains constant in absence of the friction, but in case of the reaction turbine, the relative velocity of the steam passing over the blade increases as the steam expands while passing over the blade. Third one is, blades are symmetrical in shape, but in case of the reaction turbine, the blades are asymmetrical. They are some kind of the aerofoils. Fourth one, the pressure on the both end of the moving blade is same. The pressure on the both end of the moving blade is different in case of the reaction turbine. Next is, for the same power development, as the pressure drop is more, but in case of the reaction turbine, the pressure drop is small because the number of the stages is required is more in case of the reaction turbine, and in case of the impulse turbine, the number of stages required is less. The next important is, the blade efficiency curve is less flat and the blade efficiency curve is more flat. The last difference is, in case of the impulse turbine, the steam velocity is very high and therefore the speed of the turbine is high, but in case of the reaction turbine, the steam velocity is not very high and therefore the speed of the turbine is less. So this is all about the difference between impulse as well as reaction turbine. So here you will get idea about their construction as well as working once again in brief. So in case of the impulse turbine, the most important components are nozzle as well as moving blade. But here the most important components are fixed blade as well as moving blade. So here you will get idea, when the steam from the boiler when enters on the surface of the nozzle, then expansion is carried out and its pressure is goes on decreases, but the velocity is increases. When the high velocity steam is enters on the surface of the moving blade, the blades get absorbed that energy and its velocity goes on decreases finally, and the pressure is remains constant in case of the moving blade. But when we talk about the reaction turbine, its velocity is again increases in case of the fixed blade, because the fixed blade perform the same function as that of the nozzle, and simultaneously pressure goes on decreases. Further, velocities decreases when that same steam is come in contact with that moving blade, simultaneously pressure is also dropped. So this is all about construction and working of the reaction turbine and the difference between impulse turbine as well as reaction turbine. So students, the next important part of the steam turbine is governing. So the question is arising, what is exactly governing and why it is needed? So the governing is the method of the maintaining the speed of the turbine constant irrespective of the load condition. So the main function of the governor is to maintain the speed of the turbine constant irrespective of that variation in the load. So that governing is mostly implemented in all kinds of the turbine. It may be gas turbine, it may be water turbine, it may be aero turbine, or it may be steam turbine. So everywhere the governing is important in order to maintain the constant speed irrespective of the load condition. So the governor is used for achieving this purpose, which is regulates the supply of the steam to the turbine in such a way that the speed of the turbine is maintained as far as possible constant under varying load condition. So it is very essential to maintain a constant speed in order to maintain a good performance of the steam power plants. So this step is most important. So governing is mandatory in case of the steam turbine as well. It can be done by various methods. The first method of the governing is throttle governing. Second one is the nozzle governing. Third one is that bypass governing. And fourth one, you can combine these all type of the governing. So here we will discuss the first type, that is throttle governing. Here you will get idea about the components. So here there are a lot of the components of the throttle governor. This throttle governor works on the principle of that centrifugal force. So here that centrifugal governor is used. So this is a centrifugal governor. This is a sleeves which perform up and down motion. Also fly balls are there at the middle position. The moment of the fly ball is continuously as well up and down, and it works on the lever mechanism and the sleeve mechanism. This is a rod, control valve rod. Its movement is to and fro or vertical to downward direction continuously, and these are the openings of that oil sump. Sometimes it can be controlled by hydraulic way. So this is a relay cylinder, and this is a passage through which we can control the amount of the steam before entering into the steam turbine. So students, the main specialty of that throttle governing is mostly used for that low capacity power plant. In larger steam turbine, an oil operated servo mechanism is used. So here that servo mechanism, it includes the gear pump as well as oil pump, and this relay mechanism is there. So the oil operated servo mechanism is used in case to order to enhance the lever sensitivity. For easily operation of that lever is used here. So the main function of that lever is to promote the movement of that sleeve. For that better movement of that lever, that servo mechanism is used. The use of that relay mechanism, or that magnifies the small deflection of the lever connected to the governor sleeves. So this is the main specialty of that relay mechanism. It promote the less working of that, less efforts of that lever operation in order to promote the movement of that sleeves. The differential lever is connected to the both end of the governor sleeves, and the throttle valve is spindle respectively. Both the pilot valves cover one port each in the oil chamber. So here you will get idea about that connection. This is connection A and this is connection B. It operated by the movement up and down motion of that control valve rod. Gear pumps are used for supplying the oil to activate that cylinders which is present in that control valve rod mechanism. The decrease in the load during the operation of the turbine will bring about the increase in the shaft speed. So there are two situations in case of the steam turbine: when the load on the turbine is decreases and when the load of the turbine is increases. So this is very common sense that when the load of the turbine is decreases, the speed of the shaft of that turbine goes on increases. So we must have to control that speed irrespective of the load condition. So that's why that governing is important. Similar way, when the load on the turbine is increases, the speed is decreases. So again it becomes the problematic issue. So in order to maintain a constant speed irrespective of the load condition, we must have to provide that governing mechanism. So we will first discuss that decrease in load condition. The decrease in the load during the operation of the full turbine sleeves as well as the moment is changes. So the decrease in the load during operation of the turbine tanks through the pipes, the decrease of the load during the operation cause that increase in the shaft speed. So definitely when the load of the turbine is decreases, definitely the speed of the shaft is increases, thereby lifting the governor sleeve. So because of that, when the load of the turbine is decreases, the shaft speed is increases. At that time we must have to control the speed by respect of the load condition. So at that time the sleeve goes on, moves up, deflection occurs on the lever, and due to this the pilot valve spindle rises up, opening the upper port of the oil entry and lower port of that oil exit, and the pressurized oil from the oil tank enters the cylinder and pushes the relay piston in downward direction. As the relay piston moves, the throttle valve spindle attached to it also descends, the partially closes the valve, thus the steam flow rates can be controlled. So here this is a very simple mechanism. When the load on the turbine is decreases, the speed of the turbine is increases. At that time the moment of that fly ball moves up, sleeves moves up, and also it permit the moment of that control valve rod moves up through that lever mechanism. Due to that particular moment of that piston in the relay cylinder is continuously in that backward direction, and because of that we can control that amount of steam entering through that particular turbine. Similar way, in vice versa, when the load of the turbine is increases, at that time the speed of the turbine is decreases, and at that time we must have to supply more amount of the steam to that particular passage. So it can be also done by moment of that sleeves as well as that moment of that pistons which is available in that relay valve, and we can particular that moment of the piston in that forward direction in order to reduce the amount of the fuel supply. In this way we can control the speed, or we can maintain the constant speed in case of the throttle governing, in case of the steam turbine, irrespective of the load condition during both situation, like that particular when the load of the turbine is increases as well as the load on the turbine is decreases. The second way, the second example is the nozzle governing method. So here you will get idea about the n number of the nozzle sets are there. N1, this is a set of the nozzle, N2 is another set of the nozzle, N3 is another set of the nozzle, N4 is another set of the nozzle, and this is the passage through which we can pass the steam to the turbine. So this is the nozzle. The main function of the nozzle is to provide the steam to the turbine, and in order to give that high kinetic energy to that steam, and then that high kinetic or high velocity steam is enters on the surface of the blades of the moving blades of the steam turbine. So here there are n number of the valves are there. So this is a very simple method. In order to maintain a constant speed, we can adjust the valves V1, V2, V3 and V4. So when we will discuss the first condition, when the load on the turbine is decreases, at that time the speed of the turbine rotor or blade goes on increases. At that time we must have to maintain the constant speed. We can reduce the speed, we can reduce the steam supply to maintain the constant speed. So it can be done by closing and opening the proper amount of the nozzles with the help of that valves. Similar way, in case of when the load of the turbine is increases, at that time the speed of that particular turbine goes on decreases. When the load of the turbine is increases, at that time the speed of the turbine is decreases. So in order to maintain the speed constant, we must have to supply the more quantity of the steam. So this can be also done by opening the quantity of the or portion of the valves in order to maintain the equal speed. So this is all about nozzle governing. Through the nozzle governing, through the adjustment of the valves, we can maintain a constant speed. So third one is that bypass governing. So it happen or it is implemented mostly in case of the large capacity power plant or in case of the multi-stage turbine where the pressure requirement is more than 40 bar. So in case of the large capacity power plant, that is multi-stage turbine, n number of the moving blades as well as fixed blade or as well as nozzle sets are there. So the first stage is near about that high pressure stage, middle stage is near about that moderate pressure stage, and last stage is related with that low pressure stage. So initially, if we want more pressure of the steam or more quantity of the steam at the end of the stages, then that bypass governing is used to fulfill the requirement of the steam to the lower section. So this can be done with the help of that bypass governing. Here we can bypass some amount of the steam from the first stage and we will give that steam to the lower stage where it required. If the because of expansion continuously steam get reduced, so always there are losses in case of the steam turbine. So if that lower stage want a more amount of steam, then that bypass valve activates and some portion of the steam is continuously passed through this particular bypass section, or you can say it as a bypass stream, and finally it give to the lower stage. So this is all about bypass governing. So there are most important point, that is losses in the steam turbine. Everywhere there are losses from that creation of that steam or to up to that generation of the steam from electricity point of view. So here we will only discuss that losses in the steam turbine. These are the important losses, that is friction loss. Friction loss occurs when the steam is come in contact through the nozzle as well as the moving blade as well as fixed blade. Leakage losses is there. Always in order to supply the steam from one point to another point, joints are used, pipelines are used, so there are some chances of the leakage through the each joints. So windage losses is there, so more in the rotor having disc, so because of that disc friction, rotor friction, it happens. Exit velocity loss because of the friction, this is a major loss. Incidence and exit loss, when the steam is enters through the nozzle area and it removes out from the blade, such kind of the losses occurs during entry as well as exit side. As well as that losses due to wetness, if the steam is having some kind of the wet contaminant, then definitely it affects the performance, so this is a wet loss. So losses at the bearings, continuous use of that bearing, it goes on, performance of that bearing is reduces, again that vibration noise problems are arises, these are come under the losses. So these are the some important losses in case of the steam turbine. So students, now the most important concept is that reheating and regeneration of the steam. So this is some modification of the steam power plant. So both methods are used to in order to performance of the boiler as well as that steam power plant. There are so many methods in order to improve the performance as well as efficiency of the steam power plant, but here I mention specially two, that is reheating as well as regeneration. So the component used mostly the same as that of the simple steam power plant, only difference in adding some important part, or that is component like reheater in case of the reheating. So first we will discuss that reheating concept. So generally we will discuss that conventional cycle of the steam power plant, that is simple Rankine cycle. Whatever the steam is generated in the boiler is enters in the steam turbine, and from steam turbine it enters in the condenser. In condenser where it get condensed and that steam get converted into liquid, and that water is again enters in the boiler through the boiler feed pump. This is a conventional cycle, but why that reheater are used? This is most important question. In case of the multi-stage turbine, always whatever the steam come in contact during that first stage, it get expand, and after that expansion, when the same steam is enters to the lower or middle stage, some amount of moisture is also going along with that particular steam, and it affects the performance of the steam power plant, and the life of the lower part, that is lower stage, goes on reduces. In order to avoid that, or in order to remove the moisture content from that steam, reheating is done. So here whatever the steam is removing from the boiler first enters in the first stage of the steam turbine, where it get expand, the shaft is rotate, at the end we will get mechanical energy, no doubt, and finally from the first stage the all steam is moves out, bleed out, and it moves to the passage of the reheater, where reheaters are there, and that reheater acquire the heat from the flue gases. So there is no any separate heating media is there, or external electricity is there in order for the satisfactory operation of that reheater. Reheater operates or works because of that flue gases only. When that steam is come in contact with, or when it is passes through the coils or tubes of the reheater, it get heated, some moisture get removed, and again the temperature of that steam is increases by maintaining the pressure constant. So here that particular reheated steam having high temperature, constant pressure is given to the turbine, and after again at the end of the turbine again it get expand, and finally it enters in the condenser, where condensation takes place, and liquid is enters to the boiler through the pump. So this is the main speciality of the reheating, is to reheat the steam after first expansion, and again increase the temperature and reduce the moisture, and before entering into the next stage. Here in case of the regeneration, similar way in case of the conventional cycle, you will get idea about the working the boiler. First we will discuss the conventional cycle. The steam is removing from the boiler, it enters in the turbine. After expansion is carried out in the turbine, it enters in the condenser, and from condenser the water is enters in the boiler through the pump. But in case of the regeneration, the main motto is to heat the feed water before entering into the boiler. So it can be done with the help of the regeneration. So in case of the that regeneration process, the boiler, from the boiler whatever the steam is moves out, it enters in the turbine. In turbine the expansion is carried out, and most large amount of the steam is enters in the condenser for condensation purpose. In the same way, that steam heat or some amount of the steam is utilized in that heat exchanger, that is reheater, where that heating of the heating is done takes place of that feed water. So here maximum portion of the steam is enters in the condenser, and some amount of the steam is enters in that heat exchanger. It is also called as a reheater, where whatever the water is available after the condensation process, it passes through that heat exchanger, where the heat of that steam is given to the feed water, and that feed water get heated, and finally that heated water is enters in the boiler. So in this way we can reduce the fuel consumption. So these are the two important methods. Thank you.